Hello, everyone. I'm Miss Alga from Mechanicsville High School. I'm one of our school counselors, and I'm here for our part 2 of our annual College Jumpstart program. I'm here with Miss Toombs, another fellow school counselor with Mechanicsville High School. And we have a lot of wonderful guests here today to share some great information on the college admission process. So with us today, we have Mr. Anderson from James Madison University, Miss Bennett from University of Richmond, Mr. Avison from VCU, Ms. Gant from Longwood, Ms. Parker from Christopher Newport, and Ms. McGuckin from Randolph-Macon College. We also have 2 student guests with us, and we have John Sadler and Michaela Campbell, and they will be asking our college representatives questions today. So John and Michaela, I will turn it over to you, and I believe Michaela has the first question.
All schools moved to test optional due to COVID-19. Will you remain test optional for the next years and beyond?
For JMU, we're treating it like Buzz Lightyear to infinity and beyond, so that's what we're doing. One thing I would be cautious about, just an overview for this question to frame it, optional means different things at different schools. At JMU, we are optional in the truest form of the word. You don't have to send test scores for anything, and that would also include scholarships to get into our honors college, or all of our majors don't require it. But you may see some differences at some other institutions for that.
Richmond, we have extended our test optional policy for this coming year, and we are test optional in all regards in terms of merit scholarships and for admission. So we have been approved for 1 year, and then we will reassess.
For VCU, while we were test optional this year, we are still kind of having those discussions on what that is going to look like the following years for the fall of 2022 semester. So if you are watching this in the future, please reach out to us, because we'll probably have that policy pretty shortly here.
For Longwood, we have extended our test optional policy until the fall of 2022. And then just like Richmond, we're going to reassess to see if this is something permanent that we'll keep. The only exception here is our nursing program. It is not required for the nursing program, but if you do not submit an SAT or ACT, we have a conditional admit policy in which we could still admit you to the program, but there's a math class and a biology class that you'll have to pass your freshman year with a C or higher in order to stay in the program. Otherwise, the test optional policy is in its truest form, again, with regards to honors college, scholarships, anything like that. It has no effect on any of those.
I'll just quickly share that CNU has been test optional for over a decade, so it wasn't necessarily anything new this past year. The only difference is we did adjust some of our scholarship review process. So moving forward, not 100% sure on what that looks like at the moment, but typically we use the holistic review. So test scores are always welcome to be sent in, but we haven't required that for students for a while now. We always just say, if you do apply test optional, to know that we are going to weigh on other aspects of your application much heavier. So looking at your academic rigor, your academic history, the way you are as a student, and things like that. We used to have a minimum GPA for students that we required in order for them to be eligible for test optional. Once again, that might be up for review and things like that, but we have been a test optional university for quite some time.
And lastly, very similar to my colleagues, test optional moving forward in the truest form does not impact honors or our nursing program or scholarships. So we're excited to offer that.
Great, thank you so much. I know a lot of students have been wondering about the test optional. All right, John, you want to take it with our next question?
How important is it for a student to show demonstrated interest in a college, and do colleges really take that into consideration?
Yeah, I'll take a stab at this one. I think it's important for students, if it's like their very top college and university, to definitely show that they're interested. I think it's helpful for a student, maybe if they know that their academics maybe don't represent them to their fullest potential, to be engaged in that experience.
Like one of our colleagues said on here earlier, it is very much an interview process for the college as it is for the student. And so I think showing engagement on both sides is really important. That doesn't necessarily have to mean that you're visiting the college or you're calling every day, but it also means like you're responding to email, or you maybe tune into a virtual program when you can. We have an optional interview as part of our application process, so that's a good way to show demonstrated interest. Randolph-Macon doesn't hold demonstrated interest against a student if they don't have it, but it can definitely help a student if they have it. We know that not all students have equal opportunities to participate or engage in programs depending on time commitments that they might have at home, or access to taking time off of work or getting to a college campus. So we definitely don't want it to hinder anybody's access, but it definitely can help if you feel like maybe there's some gaps in your application as you're looking at a college that's really one of your top schools.
I would just say at JMU, we don't use demonstrated interest. It's more about, students being able to find the information that they want, making their decisions. But we don't, there are colleges out there that will count every email that you've sent in, every phone call that you make, every time you've been to visit or seen us at a college fair or visit. So, those things can be important for some schools, but for JMU, we don't typically weigh that into our process at all.
Kind of similar with VCU in terms of demonstrated interest. It's not really a part of the review process. Can definitely help, however, just kind of maintaining contact with an admissions counselor. While it might not factor into the application review process, it could help just getting a relationship, and like also just having somebody that you could go to for any questions, everything like that.
I think kind of a common theme that you'll see today is that it depends per institution. So at Richmond, we don't use demonstrated interest in our admission process, but as we get into waitlist process, definitely having students reach out to us is helpful. So I think it's important to ask those questions to schools that you're considering applying to, and then if you are waitlisted, reaching out and letting those schools know that you're interested. But yeah, I think it really just kind of depends on the schools. For us, the most kind of like demonstrated interest that we use is early decision, because that's showing that you 100% really want to come to this school. So that's kind of your best way to show us that you are committed and have the most interest possible. But that's really to the extent that we use it in our admission process.
Anyone else, or you think that pretty much sums it up? Okay. All right, so next question would be from Michaela.
What type of career services do you have, and do you help students find their jobs after graduation?
I'll go. So we do have a career services office at Longwood, and basically they work with students for different things. They will help you build your resume. They do mock interviews, internship placement, career placement. So their purpose is to basically prepare you for your next steps after college. So yes, these are people that you'll work alongside while you're on campus to better prepare you for the career field when you leave, for, again, anything from how to dress to an interview, all the way to actually making those connections with the people that you're interested in maybe networking with once you graduate.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry, I saw other people in meeting. So Richmond Career Services is extremely important. We actually have the 6th best career services in the nation. So it's something that we pride ourselves on. And something that's a little bit unique to Richmond is that once you're a Spider, you're always a Spider, and in terms of career services. So alums, if you have been in a field for 40 years and you decide that you want to make a change in your career, we have specific career advisors who are dedicated to our alumni. So you can reach out at any point, set up interview practice, resume review. So really from the moment you step on campus, for the rest of your life, you will have career service access at Richmond.
I'll also add at Randolph-Macon, our Edge Career Center
does very similar programming, like Longwood University and University of Richmond, both for current students and alums. But one thing we also do is our Edge Career Center houses our on-campus student employment. So if you're interested in getting a job on campus while you're a student, just to have some extra spending money or pay for that parking pass, then you can also do that too through our Edge Career Center as well.
Yeah, and I also do want to add, with VC, we do have career services, which are going to be very similar to a lot of what the universities mentioned. Also, depending on program, just because we're a large university, a lot of our career services will have own specified, like, for example, some programs will have their own unique college fairs. I know our School of the Arts does have different types of career service fields as well that are kind of unique to the program too. So something really cool that you could look into.
Yeah, at JMU, we have a great career services program. We bring in about 300 different employers per year to interview students. We do mock interviews, which is also a way to kind of get some interview experience. But I also want to highlight, a lot of colleges too, work closely with the faculty within your department. A lot of them will have information on internships and other career paths and things that you might want to explore. So I would say, in addition to like career services offices, the professors in your program that you're in may be getting information too as well, and talk through those faculty about what would make you more competitive in a job market. I think you see a lot of people that want extra experience. So it could be, getting involved in some research projects for some of the sciences, or, doing internships, practicum, student teaching, all those kind of things will get you some more hands-on experience that'll make you more marketable for when you get out.
All right, great. Thank you so much. John, you have the next question.
What is a work-study program and how can students benefit from it?
I think one thing that's, it's kind of a misnomer, work study. You don't get paid to just study. But work study programs are basically are basically jobs that you would have on campus. In terms of how colleges factor in student employment, there is something called the Federal Work Study Program that is something that is awarded through financial aid, but is certain positions on campus that are held for students that do have some type of financial need. They're usually not ever where you just have a lump of sum that comes off of your tuition, but is a set amount of money that you can earn based on the hours that you work. But there are also what is typically called institutional employment, which is outside of the Federal Work Study Program, that a lot of offices and places all across campus will have budgeted amount of money to spend to have students working for them. I know just in our admissions office here, we have some students that are work study students, and we also have people that are falling under our institutional employment. So get in touch with if you're looking to work somewhere, get in touch with your school and see where their student employment services are. Sometimes it's located within financial aid. Sometimes it's a separate office. Typically, if you're looking for jobs, and you typically would have to apply for them, be interviewed for them, just like any other job. But there are opportunities out there to work. I think it's a great thing to do to work if you need some money for spending money while you're in college, and working sometimes in an office or an academic department. Sometimes those hours can be limited, between that 8 and 5 time, which can fit in between some of your classes that you're taking, and also free up your evenings and weekends and things like that. So definitely look into that, usually during that summer before you're deciding on what, one school that you're deciding to attend. Look into those opportunities over the summer if you want to start that during your freshman year.
I'll also add, it's nice to have an on-campus job, because most of the folks who you'd be working for are supportive of your student experience. And so if you have a test to study for, you're stressing out, or you need to meet with a faculty member and that cuts into your hours, obviously with appropriate communication, obviously with appropriate communication, letting your supervisor know that you have things going on campus that you need to make aware of. You can very easily, accommodate what's going on in your academic life than what you might need in your, work life. Where if you have a job off campus, you might not necessarily be able to balance both of those things. So I think sometimes it's nice to have that on-campus job in the community, because it can help just balance that student life. But I think Mr. Anderson makes a really good point about sometimes those hours can be limited within the 9 to 5, but we have some opportunities for students for evenings and weekends for different scheduling accommodations.
Great, thank you. Go ahead and go to our next question. Michaela, you have that one.
How important are letters of recommendation for your school admissions process? Who do you recommend students asking for them?
I'll go ahead and take that. So we don't require letters of recommendation, but they're extremely helpful because obviously we get to see your transcript and the types of courses you've been taking. Hopefully you'll submit a personal statement that gives us a good insight to who you are as a person, but it's really nice to hear what other people have to say about your work ethic and what you're like in the classroom and why you may be a good fit for the university or college that you're applying to. Counselors, teachers, coaches, employers, or somebody that you've interned for. Those are all really good people to write your recommendation letters. Family members, not so much. Family, friends, it could depend on what capacity they're writing for you. Again, if you've worked for them or if you've interned for them, that's one thing. But we really want to hear why they think you'd be a special addition to the institution that you're applying to. No more than 3, I would say, because we do read all of them at Longwood. We read every single one. So 1 is wonderful. 2 is absolutely great. 3 is getting to be a lot. So 1 really strong letter of recommendation is a great addition to your application if you can find somebody at your school or your job or wherever it is to write that for you.
I saw a lot of noddings. I felt like every college would agree with all of that. Thank you. All right, John, you want to go ahead with the next question?
If students are worried about the cost of college, what advice and resources would you give them?
I'll go ahead and start with this one. First thing that I emphasize to every single student: apply for financial aid, apply for financial aid, apply for financial aid. It is free for everybody to apply. Even if you think you don't qualify, go ahead and take the time out of your day to apply for it. About 60% of students in general apply for financial aid, and 70% of students need it. Save you tens of thousands of dollars. Go ahead and do that. The second thing I do want to kind of encourage you is to just make sure that you are reaching out to your university regarding the scholarships that they do have to offer. I know for VCU, we do have merit-based scholarships if you apply by or before November 1st. That students will be eligible for. However, those are not the only scholarships that we do have to offer. There's more kind of specialty scholarships, departmental scholarships, different things like that as well. Take advantage. It is something that is always worth it to apply to those scholarships. So again, this is one of those things where I would make sure that you are reaching out to your university, kind of doing the due diligence on your part to make sure that you do have that kind of those scholarship opportunities and are able to find those scholarships that apply directly to you.
One thing, go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead, Deb.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I definitely wanted to go off of some of the points that Robert had made in terms of make sure you do your due diligence of looking into what the university's deadlines are, requirements are. A big one for CNU is we do require our interviews for scholarship consideration. Interviews are not required for general admission to the university, but if you do want to be considered for scholarships, you need to get that interview in. That's a big one just because that is something that we see a lot of students running into issues with. They applied, but they never did the interview, therefore we're not considered. And we definitely don't want students to not be considered if they are great fits for our programs. We'll send reminders and things by email, but I know that sometimes students are, can get lost in a lot of those emails and things. So definitely check the requirements needed to be considered. Some schools will automatically consider students for scholarship opportunities. Some are going to require that you do apply into them. We offer a couple different merit-based scholarships. We do have a couple other ones that are more program specific for very few majors. And then in terms of departmental ones, those will come into play a little bit more once you declare your major, because it's CNU. You don't apply into most of our majors. So you aren't eligible for those department-wide ones until you have declared your major, which is going to be a little bit later in that college process. But I really just want to stress that you make sure you check deadlines. We offer we have a regular and a priority scholarship consideration. So if you want to be considered early when scholarships are most available and you want to be in that first round of consideration, make sure you apply and interview by that priority deadline. Otherwise, we do have that regular review process as well, but things are going to start to be a little more limited as we've already reviewed for that first pool of applicants. So I'm just stressing it on behalf of all schools, but especially just seeing you from our experience, just definitely make sure you find those requirements in order to make sure that you are doing all that you can to be considered for scholarships. And then of course, financial aid and external opportunities are available as well, which you can usually learn about through financial aid offices or representatives.
Just to add a couple of notes, the form that you use, the free application for federal student aid, that's an application you'll file for that can be awarded for financial aid for any college. But some schools also, you'll see a lot of these at some private schools will also have a CSS profile that can be in a supplemental form that you may be required or want to submit. So those are a couple things to look at. And also something that you may not be aware of is that every college is required to put out on their website somewhere a financial aid calculator, a way to get an estimate on what kind of financial aid that you could expect to receive at that school. You know, some of those are calculated a little differently, but you can look into some of that information right now to get an idea. I wouldn't eliminate any school at the time you're applying that you're interested in just based on what you see as their bottom line, their tuition charge, because they may not be intending to charge you that. There may be scholarship offers that different schools might become more affordable that you didn't think were affordable. So just a couple of points there. And do you have a GRAFS coordinator? Yeah, I thought you did everywhere. So
Yes,
you should have somebody in your school that's a GRAFS coordinator that you and your family could meet with to talk through scholarships and financial aid opportunities. And it's always good to, you know, start that conversation junior year so you can, you know, make sure you're maximizing what resources are out there and become knowledgeable, because it can be an overwhelming process when applying for financial aid and trying to gather all the documentation that you need to accurately reflect your financial status. But they'll do some great programming for you to work with you through that process.
All right, great information. So we have our last question coming up. Michaela, you want to go ahead and ask our college representatives the last question?
When you speak to alumni, what do they say is most memorable to them about their time at your school?
I would say the opportunity to fail, which is not always a popular thing to say, but
having a place where they can be challenged by their faculty, by their peers, by their supervisors in a student employment opportunity, but have the opportunity to grow and learn, and for the folks along the way, their professors, to give them feedback that guides them throughout their experience and really strengthens their academic skills, their personal growth, and really focuses on those relationship building experiences. I know I'm a graduate of Randolph-Macon class of 2011, and my academic advisor from that time is still employed at the college, and he came by my office yesterday and said, hey, can you give me a ride to my car place? My car is there getting an oil change and I need someone to take me. So, you know, being able to have relationships with folks who had such an impact on your life, but then they also turn into your friends. And so I think my experience with my academic advisor is pretty common with the Randolph-Macon Yellow Jacket experience, but also allowing those people to help you work through your challenges and see your potential. And I would say that's what our alumni speak to in terms of their experience at Randolph-Macon.
I think a kind of a broader picture here. You know, Lauren said it earlier, you know, kind of once you're a spider, you're always a spider. You know, I think it's very true. You know, when you're picking a college, it's like having a choice to pick your family. You know, you don't have the crazy uncle that you're stuck with sitting next to at Thanksgiving dinner or anything like that. These are kind of the people that you've chosen to surround yourself. And, you know, every college has a little bit of a different personality and uniqueness to them. So, you know, wherever school that you're going to, that is a long part, you know, of your life. And it's something that you got to choose to do and to be a part of that. So, you know, I know for myself, I also went to JMU. I graduated before y'all were all born. So, but I've been there, working there ever since. But I still have, you know, faculty and people that I still keep in touch with. You know, I went not too long ago, went to see a movie with one of my old professors. You know, it was just kind of a fun, you know, thing to do. And they do care, you know, about how things are going. And it's a little bit different relationship than you would probably have with a teacher in high school. You know, but you do get to know those people and they're part of your lives. And you know, it's hopefully something that you should, you know, be happy with that choice that you made.
I think for VCU, kind of from alumni, it's usually the opportunity. It is a little bit different from a lot of universities where it's right in a city, like in the heart of a city. So if that is some from alumni that are definitely like looking for that and everything for that particular environment, that is something that is super memorable from them, studying kind of in their programs and getting those opportunities within the city to kind of connect and reach out, unless you were a part of the Final Four, which was probably what most alumni are remembering who were there in 2011.
To quickly add for Richmond, I think something that's memorable and maybe really appreciated after the fact is the abundance of resources that we have at our university. We like to say we're a university of yes. Pretty much if you have an idea of a research project, a place you want to go study, whatever it might be, the answer 99.9% of the time will be yes. We'll find a way to fund a project for you and have those resources for whatever you want to do. And I think when people get out to the real world, they realize that's not necessarily always the case. So the experiences that you are able to have because of the resources we have at Richmond, while also being a smaller institution where you'll have those relationships with your professors, is something that's really memorable and really unique and special.
I'll go ahead. So for lack of better words, we like to say our alumni game is strong, and it is for a lot of reasons. Our alumni spend a lot of time with us when we engage with prospective students because they're really proud to talk about their Longwood experience and they want to pass that down to students who are looking for the same thing. Community feel, you know, smaller class sizes makes those connections really easy. Your professors care a lot about you. If you miss class one day because you're sick, obviously you're an adult and that was your choice to miss, so they're not upset with you, but they care about you and they want to know that you're okay. That experience can be tough to find. Same with your advisors. These are people that you're going to be spending the next 4 or so years with. And so I think that community feel and that family-like setting is extremely important and something that carries on long after they graduate. And weirdly, Longwood is known for lots of love stories. I work alongside marketing and do our social media for admissions, but our main account often features a Longwood love story from time to time, because many times people have found their significant other on campus, which I think is something super odd, but something really unique that we have to offer. And so it's fun to talk about those experiences and how you made those connections. And that's what I think our alumni would talk about.
I guess I will quickly wrap up on this question, and I will definitely say that we have a lot of the similar experiences that you'll find at other schools in terms of being able to form those personal relationships with faculty, which can be very influential and impactful during your time as a student and post-graduation. But I will say another big thing for us that I think has benefited a lot of students is that we are primarily an undergraduate university. So most of our students on campus are undergraduate, and that means that opportunities are available to students from the very beginning of when they come to campus. So if you want to get involved in faculty research, you're able to do that from the very beginning. If you want to, look into those things such as like internships or, working, with the professors or getting involved in community service and all those kinds of things, those things are all available to students from the very beginning. You're not having to compete with graduate students for some of those opportunities and that attention from faculty and professors. And I think that allows students to really get the most out of their experience by having those opportunities available to them from the very beginning. So you'll hear a lot of students that find a service site they got involved in, their first year that then carried on with them throughout their 4 years and then on into whatever it is that they're involved in the future. We have a lot of alum that are very, very active. Our motto on campus is, leading lives of significance. So a big thing for us is forming students to have the most out of their experience while they're on campus, but to not stop once they graduate, to continue being active, involved members in their community upon graduation, wherever it is that they go. So I think that's where you'll hear a lot of alum talk about how CMU allowed them to have those opportunities so early on that are carried with them once they graduate. So definitely a big thing if you are looking for a lot of those opportunities to work closely with anyone on our campus from the very beginning through the time you graduate and then some. That's definitely something that we really have a big emphasis on at CNU, and something that I definitely think sticks with alum, moving forward in whatever it is that they do next.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. This was such valuable information. I can't wait to share it with our families in Hanover County. So this concludes our second part of our College Jumpstart panel. So thank you very much, and we look forward to working with you over the next couple of years.